In this video, I'm going to show you how to make this potpourri and lace hoop finish. Hey there, this is Sarah with the Notorious Needle, and I want to empower you to break the rules of conventional cross stitch so you can make whatever you want. By the end of this video, you'll know how to make this potpourri and lace hoop finish. Here's what it looks like from the front, just in time for the holidays. The materials you need to complete this project are a thin piece of fabric about the same color as your project fabric. This will be the backing to the project and prevent little crumbs of potpourri from poking through. Next, you need a piece of lace that is slightly larger than your embroidery hoop. I chose a piece that matches the color of my project fabric. This lace will go over the potpourri in the back of the project, so you want the lace to have very small holes. Next is the embroidery hoop frame. I used a faux wood vinyl embroidery hoop, and I put the link to the exact hoops that I used down below. You'll need hot glue and a hot glue gun. You'll need something to press onto the hot glue without burning your fingers. I use a metal nail file with a hook at the end. You'll need potpourri. The kind of potpourri that I used here is the decorative kind that you can find in any craft store, but I don't really recommend it. It's what I happen to have on hand. The pieces were way too big and my husband kindly crushed them for me. What will work better is the simmering kind of potpourri, and I put a link to that below. You'll need ribbon in the color of your choice. It's easier to use lace ribbon for ruching, but you don't have to. To get this look where the lace peeks out from behind the embroidery hoop, you'll need ribbon that's at least 3/4 of an inch thick. You'll need 2 kinds of embroidery floss or thread. You'll need a color that will blend in with your project fabric or the lace backing that you're using, and you'll need a color that will blend in with your ribbon if that's a different color. I used DMC ecru since that matched my fabric, my lace, and the ribbon that I chose. You need a tape measure, a needle, of course scissors, and of course your finished cross stitch. These are the patterns that I use, and I'll put the link for these down below. First, cut a piece of the thin backing fabric that about matches the size of your project fabric. Open the hoop and decide which will be the front and which will be the back of the hoop. For the inner piece, you can see there's a little circle where the plastic was poured into the mold. And this might make your fabric stick out a little. So you'll want any little circles to be facing the back. And for the outer piece of the hoop, there isn't really a front or back on these faux wood vinyl hoops. Sometimes the piece at the top is screwed in so it's not quite centered, and you might have a preference whether you like it closer to the front or closer to the back. But ultimately, this has very little impact on the finished look of this project. Place both the finished cross stitch and the backing fabric in the hoop at the same time. So the vinyl hoops don't have a screw to tighten or loosen them like conventional embroidery hoops. They're already tight. So this is why it's important to use a very thin piece of fabric for the backing. Next, trim the extra fabric from the back of the hoop, leaving about 1 inch or less all around. Thread your needle with the floss for the thread that matches the color of your project fabric or the lace backing, and you're going to want to use at least 2 strands for added strength. You can use a loop start here too, or tie a knot at the end of the thread. Weave the needle in a sort of running stitch in and out of the fabric along the back of the hoop, and make sure to overlap a little so you don't miss any. Next, pull the thread tightly and the fabric at the back will naturally start to gather towards the center of the hoop. And tie it off nice and tight. And this is why you want to use 2 threads. You want to have enough power to pull on the thread so it doesn't snap. Take some of the potpourri and place it into the back of the project. You'll notice that the hoop forms a sort of small bowl shape. Make sure the pieces lay somewhat flat and don't stick out too far, but it's okay if they stick out a little bit because we're going to cover it with the lace. So take your glue gun and start to glue the lace to the fabric that's gathered in the back. You don't want to glue it directly onto the hoop. We'll need that room for the ribbon later. Use the nail file, or at least not your finger, to press the lace down into the glue. It helps the lace stay in place better. You'll continue gluing all the way around the hoop. And when you're done, let the glue cool off for a few minutes before you trim the lace very close to the edge of the glue. But make sure you don't pull the lace off. Measure a strip of ribbon that's at least 5 times the circumference of your hoop. So I'm working with a 4-inch hoop and I want a piece of ribbon at least 20 inches long. Then begin ruching the ribbon. So thread the needle again with the floss that matches the color of the ribbon and tie a knot at the end of the thread, or you could use a loop start here as well. And push the needle at one end of the ribbon very close to the edge. Again, you're going to use a sort of running stitch to continue weaving the needle up and down, in and out at the very edge of the ribbon, gathering little folds as you go. This is very similar to how you gathered the fabric at the back of the hoop. Now, if you chose lace ribbon, it's really super easy because the holes are already there and you can make sure that every time you put the needle through, it's at the same distance, so you get an even look for the ruching. If you like this project, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when I do the next project. When you've gathered the ribbon to your liking, start to glue the edge of the ribbon over the edge of the lace backing. Here's where you want a little bit of the ribbon to stick out from behind the hoop. Try not to start in an obvious spot, like at the top of the hoop or the very bottom. If you choose a random place to start, it's less likely that the human eye will see the edge of the ribbon. Continue gluing the ribbon all the way around the edge of the hoop. Don't worry if you need to add more ribbon. The ruching hides any cuts and nobody will notice that you needed to add an extra piece. I needed to on several pieces and you can't even tell. This is what it looks like done. It's gorgeous. If you want more inspiration about how to finish your embroidery or cross stitch in a hoop, check out one of these videos. And I'll see you in the next one. Stitch on.